This is crazy. You've got ICE reportedly now tear gassing kids. Lawmakers are calling for it to be abolished. And all the while, you've got Trump and Tim Walz waging a war for control of Minnesota. Or you've got Trump's so-called Department of War now putting 1,500 active duty troops on standby to be deployed into Minnesota, saying that those troops who are from Alaska and specialize in cold weather operations will execute the orders of the commander-in-chief if called upon. And then at the same time, you've got Governor Walz mobilizing the Minnesota National Guard, though they also haven't been deployed yet either. But if Walz does pull that trigger, the Guard says that their mission will be to assist local law enforcement and public safety agencies, right? Noting that they're, quote, focused on protecting life, preserving property, and ensuring Minnesotans can safely exercise their First Amendment rights. And with all this, because you've got Trump pushing this situation further and further, you're going to have militarized units in this public setting, they've added that they're going to wear reflective vests to distinguish themselves from other agencies, aka ICE. Right? And while you had Trump on Friday walking back his threat to invoke the Insurrection Act, he didn't take it off the table. Right? And he's not letting up on Walz either. That same day, reports came out that the Trump Justice Department is criminally investigating both him and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry for allegedly obstructing federal law enforcement. But to that, you had Fry responding by saying that he won't be intimidated, and Walz saying 2 days ago it was Alyssa Slotkin. Last week it was Jerome Powell. Before that, Mark Kelly. Weaponizing the justice system against your opponents is an authoritarian tactic. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. Right? And as all that's going down, you're seeing things like a Democratic representative from Michigan now introducing a bill to abolish ICE, AOC also renewing her call to abolish ICE, though I will say not every Democrat is on the same page here. And so you have Senator Ruben Gallego, for example, saying that abolishing ICE would be a mistake, but adding that it does need to be totally torn down and created in the image of what people want. You've also got California Governor Gavin Newsom being accused of being soft and really not the man for the moment for what he said to Ben Shapiro on his podcast.
AOC said this week that ICE should be abolished. You disagree?
Oh, I disagree when I think a candidate for president by the name of Harris said that in the last campaign. I came out, I remember being on Chris Hayes hours later saying, I think that's a mistake. So absolutely.
And that was also after he was criticized by the right for calling ICE state-sponsored terrorism.
Your press office tweeted out that it was state-sponsored terrorism, which, I mean,
Yeah.
Governor, I do have to ask you about that.
Yeah.
That sort of thing makes our politics worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, our ICE officers obviously are not terrorists.
Yeah.
A tragic situation is not state-sponsored terrorism.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right, and so with Newsom, you have many independents and people on the left going like, who the hell is he actually? Right, is he the strong out there fighter that it appears that he is on social media, though that may just be his social media team? Or is he really just, or maybe more so, the Democrat that allows right-wingers to walk all over him whenever he's on their or his podcast? Right, and then all of this, it's going down as you now have a judge telling ICE and the Trump administration that they can't keep targeting protesters who aren't breaking the law, ruling, 1, federal agents cannot detain peaceful protesters who aren't obstructing authorities, and 2, they can't use chemical agents to retaliate against protected speech. Though of course this is Trump and his administration and those acting at the behest of it, so that may not stop anything. But most likely the way that you'd see this play out is that they would make the argument that the protesters, they were actually being violent, whether they actually were or not. In fact, it already appears that they're doing as much, and all of that is we're seeing reports about things like ICE tear gassing 2 parents and their 6 kids who accidentally drove into a confrontation between protesters and ICE on their way home from a basketball game. With their mom, Destiny Jackson, saying they pulled over because protesters in parked cars were making it difficult to pass. Her husband, Sean, then tries to back up, but federal agents had already surrounded their car, trapping them in. An agent yells for them to get the fuck out of there. They say, we're trying. Destiny then tells Sean not to move, scared out of her mind that they're about to become the next Renee Good. And then she sees a flashbang, a tear gas canister rolls under the car. She feels the car bounce and come back down. Next thing she knows, the airbags have inflated, tear gas is filling the car. They're fumbling to unlock the doors for their kids. Right, and all the while, their 6-month-old is just strapped in a car seat until a bystander reportedly frees the baby and brings him to Destiny. And Destiny, she says that he wasn't breathing and was foaming at the mouth, so she starts giving him CPR as other people pour milk over his eyes to wash away the tear gas. But then luckily, in the end, the baby being revived and taken to the hospital with the whole family expected to be okay. And that story is also actually something that host Margaret Brennan confronted Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem with directly to her face yesterday on Face the Nation, before then also asking Noem about the judge's order to stop using chemical agents. And there you had Noem's response being,
It was a little ridiculous because that federal judge came down and told us we couldn't do what we already aren't doing. We
just saw video of chemical agents being used.
We only use those chemical agents when there's violence happening and perpetuating, and you need to be able to establish law and order to keep people safe. That's the only situation. So that judge's order didn't change anything for how we're operating on the ground because it's basically telling us to do what we've already been doing.
Also with this, you had Brennan pressing Noam on Walz's claim that the agent who killed Renee Good isn't under any sort of investigation. And initially, you see Noam try to deflect and make this all about something else.
Let me talk to you about the officer, Jonathan Ross. He was struck. He was hospitalized.
Oh, don't say his name. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we shouldn't have people continue to dox law enforcement when they have an 8,000% increase in death threats against them. I know, but that doesn't mean it should continue to be said. We are following the exact same investigative and review process that we always have under ICE and under the Department of Homeland Security and within the administration.
Do I understand you saying that the Office of Professional Responsibility is doing its own probe to determine that the ICE agent violated protocol and that he was on 3 days of administrative leave, because that is what is in the handbook?
The protocol and the advice and the guidance within that handbook and within our policies is being followed exactly like it has been for years.
Right, but with all that, Noam never actually says outright that Ross was put on administrative leave or is under investigation, instead just blaming the left for attacking ICE agents. And while you also had Brennan referencing CBS reporting from last week that Ross suffered internal bleeding, reports have since come out that there was a major internal divide at CBS on reporting that. Because CBS says that they got the information from 2 anonymous US officials, but it was never actually able to confirm the extent of the bleeding. And you had CBS News' senior VP even noting that in an email, writing, "I'm no doctor, but internal bleeding is a very broad term and can range in severity. A bruise is internal bleeding, but it can also be something serious." Though the newly appointed editor-in-chief Barry Weiss was reportedly very interested in covering that angle.